Welcome to Zoe Stories. They turned me into a woman, and now I can't escape. Some people crave excitement. They chase danger, live for adrenaline, and throw themselves into chaos just to feel alive. I wasn't one of those people. My life was predictable, safe, controlled, and I liked it that way. I was just a regular guy going through the motions. College classes during the day, a shift at a coffee shop in the evening, and late-night gaming sessions with my roommates. No drama, no risks, and no reason to think my life would ever change. But change doesn't always come with a warning. Sometimes it hits you like a truck, and sometimes it sneaks up behind you, pressing a chloroform-soaked rag against your mouth before you even have a chance to scream. That night, I had no idea I was walking straight into a nightmare. A night I should have stayed home. It started as a normal Friday. My roommates, Austin and Leo, had been bugging me all week to go out with them. "Come on, Ryan, you never do anything fun," Austin whined, draping an arm around my shoulder. "One night, one drink. That's all we're asking." "I have an exam on Monday," I muttered, staring at my laptop. Leo snorted. "Dude, it's Friday. You have the whole weekend to study. If you don't come, you'll spend the whole night locked in your room like a loser." I sighed. Maybe they were right. It wasn't like I had anything better to do. "Fine. One drink. And I'm leaving by midnight." I would regret that decision for the rest of my life. The place they took me to was a downtown nightclub, packed with sweaty bodies moving under flickering neon lights. The bass was so loud, I could feel it vibrating in my ribs. I wasn't much of a party guy, so I stuck to the bar, nursing a beer while Austin and Leo disappeared into the crowd. Probably flirting with girls. That was fine. I was used to being the quiet one. But as I sat there, a weird feeling crept over me, like I was being watched. At first, I thought I was imagining it. But then I noticed them, 3 men near the exit. They weren't dancing. They weren't drinking. They weren't talking to anyone. They were just standing there, watching me. Every time I glanced in their direction, their eyes would flick away. But I knew they had been staring. A cold shiver crawled up my spine. I checked my phone. 12:47 a.m. Screw this. Time to go. I texted Austin and Leo, heading home. "See you later." No reply. They were probably too busy hooking up. Whatever. I finished my drink and slipped out the back exit. The streets were too quiet. Outside, the air was crisp and cold, but I still felt uneasy. Maybe it was the club's weird energy, or maybe I was just tired. Either way, I wanted to get home as fast as possible. My apartment was only 10 blocks away, and I always took the same shortcut, a narrow alley behind a row of old buildings. I hesitated at the entrance. The alley was darker than usual, the streetlights barely flickering. Normally, it didn't bother me, but tonight, I had that feeling again, like someone was watching me. I shook my head. "You're being paranoid." Taking a deep breath, I stepped in. My footsteps echoed against the brick walls. The further I walked, the quieter the city noise became, swallowed by the darkness. Then, a voice. Low, smooth, too calm. "Hey, excuse me?" I stopped. My heartbeat skipped. A man stood just beyond the glow of the street lamp, his face half hidden in shadows. His posture was too relaxed. Hands in his pockets. A slight tilt of his head. Something about him sent alarm bells ringing in my head. "Do you have the time?" he asked. I didn't answer. I didn't move. Every instinct in my body screamed, "Leave. Now." I turned away, quickening my pace. 5 more steps to the main street. 4, 3, 2. A second pair of hands grabbed me from behind. I barely had time to react before an arm clamped around my chest, yanking me backward. My breath hitched. A cloth was shoved against my mouth and nose. The scent was sickly sweet, overpowering. Chloroform. No, no, no. I thrashed, twisting, kicking, but the grip was iron-tight. My vision blurred. My limbs weakened. The last thing I heard before I blacked out was a man's voice whispering in my ear. "Don't fight it. You'll wake up soon enough. But you won't be the same." And then, that was the first thing I felt. A deep, numbing cold that seemed to seep into my bones. I tried to move, but something was wrong. My body felt heavy.
Slow.
My fingers curled weakly, but even that small movement sent a strange, foreign sensation through me. What the hell? I forced my eyes open and froze. This wasn't my apartment. The room was dimly lit by a series of bright, clinical overhead lights. Everything was white, the walls, the floor, even the furniture. It felt sterile.
Almost hospital-like.
But there was no hospital bed. I was sitting upright in a chair, wrists bound to the armrests with leather straps. My ankles were tied down too, preventing me from standing. Panic exploded in my chest. What the hell was this? Where was I? I struggled, yanking against the restraints, but they barely budged. The chair wasn't just any chair. It was one of those high-end salon chairs, the kind you'd see in an expensive beauty parlor. That was when I noticed the mirror. It was massive, spanning the entire wall in front of me. And what I saw in it made my stomach drop.
My clothes were gone.
In their place was a silky white robe, draped loosely over my body. My hair, normally a shaggy, unkempt mess, was neatly trimmed and styled. Almost too perfect. And then I saw them. The 3 men from the club, standing near the door, watching me with eerie calm. One of them said, tilting his head. "You're awake." My throat clenched. Where the hell am I? My voice came out hoarse, weaker than I expected. None of them answered. Instead, the tallest of the 3, a man with silver-rimmed glasses and an unsettling smile, stepped forward. He reached into the pocket of his pristine black suit, pulling out a small notepad. He flipped through a few pages, then looked at me like I was an experiment he was eager to dissect. Ryan Carter, 21 years old, business major, no criminal record, no significant family ties. I stiffened. How the hell did they know all of that? The man in glasses smiled wider. "We've been watching you for quite some time." Cold dread settled in my stomach. What do you want from me?" He adjusted his glasses. "That's a complicated question. But let's start with something simple." He snapped his fingers. The door behind him opened, and a woman walked in. She was tall, elegant, dressed in a sleek red dress. Her heels clicked against the floor as she approached me, her sharp blue eyes scanning my face like she was assessing a blank canvas. Then she smiled. "Yes," she murmured, brushing her fingers under my chin. "You'll do nicely." "Do nicely for what?" I flinched at her touch, my pulse pounding in my ears. "Who the hell are you people?" She ignored the question. Instead, she turned to the men. "Prep him." One of them nodded. And suddenly, I felt a prick in my arm. I barely had time to react before a wave of dizziness washed over me. The room blurred, spinning in and out of focus. My body felt strange. Lighter, weaker, almost softer. And then, as my vision darkened, I heard the woman's voice again.
Low, amused.
"When you wake up, darling, you won't recognize yourself." And then, darkness. When I woke up again, something felt off. The weight of my body was different. I groaned, blinking against the bright lights, but as soon as I moved, I knew something was wrong. My balance was off. My arms felt slimmer. And then I saw my reflection, and my breath caught. The person staring back at me wasn't me. She looked like a gorgeous young woman, with delicate features, high cheekbones, full lips, and long, silky brown hair cascading over her shoulders. I lifted my hand in horror, but so did she. I swallowed, barely breathing. That woman in the mirror was me. My jaw tightened. My heart pounded. I wasn't just dressed up. Something had been done to me. My body was completely transformed. I wore a tight, form-fitting dress, satin, black, expensive. My legs, smooth and shapely, were crossed in a way that felt almost unnatural. A pair of tall, strappy heels adorned my feet. I wasn't just wearing women's clothes. I had been turned into a woman. "No," my voice came out soft. Higher. Feminine. A sharp gasp tore through me. I sounded like a girl. A soft chuckle made me turn my head. The woman in red was standing in the doorway, looking pleased. "You're awake," she said smoothly. "And looking absolutely stunning, I must say." My body tensed. "What did you do to me?" I demanded. She sighed, walking closer. "We made you better." "Better? You turned me into AF." I stopped mid-sentence because even the way I spoke had changed. She smirked, clearly enjoying my horror. "Oh, don't be so dramatic. You'll get used to it." I shook my head. "Change me back. Right now." Her smile widened. "Oh, sweetheart, I'm afraid that's not possible." My stomach dropped. Not possible? What the hell did she mean, not possible? She leaned in, placing a manicured hand on my cheek. "This is who you are now." I yanked away, shaking.
No.
"No, this is some kind of sick joke." She just laughed. "Oh, darling, this is only the beginning." And with that, she turned and walked away, the door locking behind her, leaving me trapped in a body that wasn't mine. My breath came in short, sharp gasps. This wasn't real. It couldn't be real. But the reflection in the mirror wasn't lying. The silky strands of hair that framed my face, the soft curves where sharp angles used to be, the slender hands trembling in my lap, it was all me. I shook my head violently.
No.
No, no, no. I yanked at the dress, hoping, praying, that maybe it was some kind of elaborate disguise, that under this satiny nightmare, I was still me. But the more I touched, the more I felt this body wasn't fake. The smoothness of my legs, the curve of my waist, the softness of my skin. I had really changed. A choking sob escaped my lips. My own voice betrayed me. It was too high, too feminine, too delicate. I gritted my teeth, forcing the panic down. Crying wouldn't save me. I needed to get the hell out of here. The room was elegant, but sparse. A luxurious prison. The massive mirror was built into the wall. No way to break through it. The only door was locked, and there were no windows. I forced myself to stand, wobbling slightly in the ridiculously high heels they'd put me in. My legs felt different, but I didn't have time to focus on that. I moved to the vanity in the corner, rummaging through drawers. Lipsticks, brushes, palettes. No weapons, nothing sharp. Then, a bobby pin. My pulse leaped. It wasn't much, but it was something. I rushed to the door, dropping to my knees, hands shaking as I fumbled the pin into the lock. Click, click, come on, come on. Suddenly, footsteps. My blood froze. I barely had time to move before the door swung open. And there she was. The woman in red. Smirking. "Going somewhere, darling?" I lunged toward her, aiming to shove past, but she was faster. In one smooth motion, she grabbed my wrist and twisted, not enough to break it, but enough to send a sharp jolt of pain through me. I yelped, a soft, pathetic sound that infuriated me. I should have sounded tough, angry, like a man, but I didn't. She leaned in, her blue eyes piercing. "I'll give you credit," she purred. "Most of them don't try to escape this early." Them? A chill ran through me. How many others had there been? She sighed, disappointed, and snatched the bobby pin from my trembling fingers. "Such a waste of time," she muttered, tossing it aside. Then she snapped her fingers, and two massive men entered the room. Before I could fight, they grabbed me. Strong hands locked around my arms, my shoulders, pinning me in place. "Let me go!" I screamed, kicking wildly, but in these damn heels, I had no balance. The woman in red tilted her head. "You're resisting because you still think this is temporary." I stopped struggling. Her smile was slow. "But it's not." The words hit like a gunshot. "Not temporary?"
No.
No, she was lying.
She had to be.
What did you do to me?" I stammered. She tapped a manicured finger to her lips, as if considering whether or not to tell me. Then she sighed dramatically. "Oh, very well," she said. "I suppose you should know." She stepped closer, lowering her voice. "You were chosen," she whispered. "Handpicked for a very special transformation. My stomach clenched. Chosen by who? I spat. Her smirk widened. By the highest bidder. I felt cold all over. The highest bidder? What the hell does that mean? I rasped. She chuckled. It means, sweetheart, that you've been sold. My blood ran ice cold. Sold? I shook my head.
No.
No, that wasn't possible. I'm not some object. I snapped. Oh, but you are now. She leaned in, her perfume sickly sweet. Do you have any idea how much money people are willing to pay for perfection? I froze. Her smile widened. Yes, darling. That's what you are now. A masterpiece. A product. The room tilted. This wasn't just some freak accident. This had been planned. I wasn't kidnapped randomly. I had been targeted, handpicked, transformed. And now, I belonged to someone. I was dragged out of the room, helpless, trembling, forced to walk in heels like I had done it 1,000 times before. The hallways were immaculate, golden chandeliers, marble floors, walls decorated with expensive paintings. But the deeper they dragged me, the louder the sounds became. Voices, murmurs, and then applause. I was shoved forward. Bright lights, a massive ballroom, and a stage. I barely had time to react before the woman in red gripped my chin, tilting my face up for all to see. My dear guests, she purred into a microphone. Tonight, I present to you our latest masterpiece. A spotlight snapped on.
On me.
The audience whispered in excitement. I tried to move, to scream, but a sharp hand on my shoulder stopped me. Smile, the woman hissed. Or I'll make you. I swallowed hard. And then she spoke again. Shall we start the bidding? My heart slammed against my ribs.
No. No. No.
But the first voice called out a number. And then another. And another. And I realized they were bidding on me. I wasn't escaping this. I was being sold. The numbers kept rising. 50,000. 75,000. 100,000. I felt sick. Each bid, each number, it wasn't just money. It was a price on my existence. The people in the audience weren't just spectators. They were buyers. And I was the merchandise. A perfectly packaged, obedient, and beautiful doll, ready to be owned.
No.
I clenched my fists. I would not let this happen. I had one shot, one chance, and I had to take it. I scanned the room, my mind racing. Security guards at every exit. The woman in red standing close. Cameras everywhere. I couldn't just run. I needed a distraction. I glanced down at the heels on my feet, slim, sharp, dangerously high. A weapon. It was risky, but it was my only chance. I took a deep breath. Then I made my move. I screamed. A wild, desperate, terrified scream, the kind that shattered the elegance of the event in an instant. The audience froze. The woman in red's smirk vanished. And in that moment of confusion, I moved. I ripped off my heel and swung it. Crack. The sharp heel slammed into the nearest guard's head. He staggered, dazed. Before he could recover, I grabbed the microphone from the woman in red and hurled it at the chandelier above. Smash. Glass rained down. The crowd screamed. The chaos exploded. I ran, pushing, shoving, dodging grasping hands. I kicked off the remaining heel, sprinting barefoot, my heart hammering like a war drum. Behind me, guards shouted. The woman in red's voice was cold, furious. Stop her. I reached the back of the ballroom, an emergency exit.
Locked.
I spun around. Guards closing in. Nowhere to run. But then, a gunshot. Not aimed at me, but at the ceiling. Everyone froze. And from the shadows, a figure stepped forward.
Emma.
Holding a gun, pointed directly at the woman in red.
Let
her go. Emma's voice was like steel. The woman in red just laughed. Oh, sweetheart, she purred. You really think you can stop this? Emma didn't hesitate. She pulled the trigger.
Bang.
A bullet slammed into the woman in red's shoulder. She screamed. The guards hesitated. That was all we needed. Emma grabbed my hand. Run. We crashed through the emergency exit, down a long, dark corridor. My lungs burned. My legs screamed. But we didn't stop. Behind us, alarms blared. We burst into the night air, a black car waiting. Engine running. Emma shoved me inside. The moment the doors slammed shut, the tire screeched. We were free, or so I thought. I turned to Emma, shaking, gasping for breath. How did you find me? She didn't answer. She just stared ahead. Silent. Too silent. Something was wrong. I felt it, deep in my gut. And then, she spoke. Her voice was soft. Too soft. You were never supposed to escape. My stomach dropped. I turned, slowly. Emma was still gripping the gun, still staring ahead. And then, finally, she smiled. You belong to me now.